Hey everyone, what's up? I am attempting to go live. I know it's a little squirrely. I'm trying to figure it out on how to stream live to all of these different places at once. And so I am hopefully streaming to places where you can see it and hear it. And if not, you're just going to have to see the recording later. And I apologize. So, with that in mind, I want to start by just saying thank you guys so much for the support of the new podcast. We have the new podcast rocking, and we have a bunch of people who've seen it, made a bunch of comments about it, and have reached out. And I actually wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of experience it live. That was the hope that some of you guys would be able to experience it. And what I want to do is give you, let me see if I can find it here. I want to invite you guys to join me. You can become an audience member here. I'm using Riverside. I'm going to leave this in the messages. It should show up for you in your chat. If not, we can figure out how to get it to you guys. But I wanted a few of you to be able to see and experience what we do live in our coaching. A lot of the coaching, a lot of the podcast is just me offering real time help to callers, literally on air. They show up, phone call, jump on, they give me a question. I don't know what their question is prior, and we hang out and talk for just a handful of minutes about what can help. What's real practical help? I think so often we have people offering sort of hype and maybe like some encouragement, which is great. But wouldn't it be nice to have some real practical first steps? How do I get unstuck? If I feel like I'm stuck in a situation, I'm stuck in a circumstance, I'm stuck in a mindset or a behavior, what are the first steps to move forward and get out of that thing? So that's what a lot of what we've done with the podcast and a lot of what we're doing in the coaching. And so not only do I want to invite you guys to be an audience member here on Riverside so that maybe you can jump in and ask questions that you want to ask, or bring up something that maybe you're stuck in, maybe a situation or a circumstance you're kind of spiraling in and you just want to ask a question. So I wanted to be able to give you guys that opportunity here live and see if we can get a few people on. I'm not even sure it'll work, to be honest with you. I'm just testing it and running it. Maybe we'll find a better way to do this in the future. But I thought I would at least throw it out there to see if you guys had anything like that. Also, what I want to throw into the chat for those of you guys that might be interested is we have a link. So let me copy this, copy the link, copy a link address. And what I want to do is I want to send this into the comment section as well. If you want to be on a future episode of the podcast, there's the link. It's an Acuity link for my scheduling for my podcast. And all you guys, all we need from you is 15 minutes of your time. Men or women can jump on. Maybe you can jump on even as a couple. We've had some couples jump on and ask some questions about what they're experiencing in their marriage, in their life. And so, I mean, again, like so many times we end up having to wait till the next therapy session, the next, like what else can we get to? Who can help us? The next accountability group, all of those things. And what we're trying to bring into real time is real help for people to be able to experience what it might be like to just have some help, some real practical help. So I'm even looking at the chat right now. So even if you guys have like a couple of questions, or you can't get to the link and can't get over into Riverside and you're like, I've got this question, I can see all of your comments here from every single place we're streaming. And I just encourage you, jump on and just give us a question, give us some thoughts. If not, you have something else you want to ask later, totally feel free to jump on, schedule a call, and be a part of what we are doing with the Work Podcast. I think one of the major things that we've been able to see and experience, I was on a phone call just the other day with a guy who him and his wife were working with us for just the last month. He came and did what we call it's an initiation experience, basically a 2-day coaching intensive where they come up here to Reading. We do one night, one full day, and one morning. And we just spend time diving into the story, the imposters, the shadow, and then practical work to get to the vision of the life that God created us for. And I think sometimes we end up living this life. I tell people all the time that there's wherever you feel anxiety or depression, I know that there's loads of different understandings about those things. I understand from a neurological perspective. I understand all of these, the neural pathways, whatever. What I'm talking about is I need the dumbed down version. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes things get a little too technical and it's like, I don't really understand all of it. And I'm not looking to be the professional in these areas as much as I'm trying to offer the practical help that I believe God wants to give his people in these areas. And we have this version of ourselves that we live out that is an imposter of who we're supposed to be. I think Brennan Manning actually talks about it in his book, Abba's Child, which I highly recommend. Check out that book, Abba's Child by Brennan Manning. Super ridiculous, so insanely beautiful. What a great book. And in the second chapter, The Imposter, he talks about it, that there's these masks, these versions of ourselves that we've created in order to survive the life we've been given, in order to get the acceptance and the love and the appreciation that we need in order to survive our lives. And there's this separation between the imposter or the masks we wear, the imposters, and the reality of who we were created to be in God. And there's this gap in between those two things, a giant gap in between. For some of us, it's real small. We can see the other person over there and we're just trying to reach out and grab a hold of them. And others of us have experienced a ton in our lives where there's a massive gap between the imposter we've been living in and the reality of who God created us to be. And in that gap, based on personality, based on the way you're wired, you'll go to anxiety or depression. And the goal of the work that we do is to help close that gap a little bit between who we were created to be in God and who we've had to be to survive our lives, and to close that gap, to renew our minds, to take on the mind of Christ, to begin to think and see things differently, to experience transformation in a world that really just wants to give us a ton of information. So often we're over-informed and under-loved. And so we have all this hype and all this language because we heard the podcast, we read the book, we saw this guy talk one time, and we went to the event, and all that's great. It's awesome, wonderful. Maybe it's a little bit of encouragement, but what does it look like to walk this stuff out on a regular basis? We need practical tools and practical help. We can't just keep watching the next podcast and hoping because we got that one liner, it's going to work out. We have to show up to the reality of our life every single day, expose those imposters that are getting in the way. They were maybe helpful in the last season. They may have helped us get some of the love and appreciation that we so desperately needed just to make it through the day, but they're hindering us from the created work of God in our lives, the work of becoming who we were meant to become in him. And so the podcast has been a place where we could do that in really short little chunks, helping people get to that next place in their life. Just take one step in front of the other. One of my good friends, he says all the time, incremental over monumental. And I wish I had come up with that. It's a really great phrase, but that is the idea. Sometimes we want this big hype moment, and what we really need is just somebody to help us take the next step, someone to help us get through the next little 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes the next day, because we have no idea what life is going to bring us in the next week, the next month. I know that I've experienced that. And I know many of you, a lot of the people we've worked with have experienced that, where we didn't expect our life to go the way it went. We didn't expect the things to happen that have happened. We don't fully know how to process them all the time. And maybe we reacted poorly or responded poorly to them, or maybe we didn't show up to our lives the way we could have when we experienced those things, because we didn't have the tools, the practical tools to be able to show up consistently. And so the Work Podcast has been an opportunity for us to just get on the phone 15, 20 minutes and just offer this to people. And I think even with these lives, I'm going to try to do them a little more often, because I want to be able to jump on and maybe answer a few questions, or let's maybe wrestle with a few things that you guys are struggling with, that you're walking through. And so the next time I jump on live, we're probably not going to go on very long, but maybe 15, 20 minutes, we can get to a couple questions and at least get to a couple people's thoughts on what their experience, or a couple people's experiences, so that we can well, let me put it this way. I think so many times we're experiencing something that we think we're alone in. I talked to a guy today and he's like, man, I've spent so many years feeling like I was completely alone in this. I had spent so much time feeling completely alone. Like I didn't know that other people were struggling with this. I thought I was crazy. And I feel like so many people think they're alone because that is the work, right? To get you isolated so you can be picked off, to think that you're alone, to think that you're in isolation, to think that nobody's struggling. Nobody could be dealing with what you're dealing with. Nobody on earth could be going through what you're going through. And it's just not true. You're not alone. You're not as alone as your thoughts might want to get you wrapped up in. You're not as alone as the enemy may want to convince you. You're actually really surrounded by a bunch of people who are probably experiencing the same thing and have never shared it either. And if we could all start being a little more vulnerable and start sharing, I wonder how less alone we would actually feel, how more connected we would actually feel. But we have to step over that line of vulnerability. We have to step over the line of allowing people to see us for who we truly are. Who we are truly meant. Listen, man, if the truth really does set us free, let's just say that that's accurate. If the truth really does set you free, then the next step in our journey is to be honest about where we are and what we're dealing with. And if we can be honest about where we are and what we're dealing with, I wonder how much more free we could actually be and how much more connected we could be to one another. And so if that interests you at all, or you're interested in jumping on the podcast with me, the link is there. You can go to, I'll just tell it to you guys just in case you can't grab it. Maybe I can even show it on the stream. Let's just see if it actually shows up. It has a button for it, so I'm just trying to push it and see if it shows up on the stream. There it is. Look at that. Boom. This is thefight.as.me/the work. You will end up with the calendar. You will see a calendar that lets you sign up to be able to jump in on our podcast. And we would love to have you as a guest on our podcast. I would love to answer your questions. I'd love to hear about the situation or circumstances you're currently in or struggling with, and how we might be able to find you that first practical step forward. So anyway, this was my big test on live just to see how it worked, make sure everything kind of shows up. So if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see on a live in the future, or even in interviews, maybe we bring on a couple guests on a live like this to be able to discuss topics that you guys are interested in. Just let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys later. For those of you that are men that are in our Fight platform, that you guys have jumped on, that thisisthefight.com, we are about in 3 minutes going to jump on to our Man Talk Monday. Man Talk Monday, we get together every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we hang out there with a bunch of guys and discuss topics that are relevant to men and that will actually reclaim, we talk about it as reclaiming masculinity and restoring marriage in our culture, because we know that those are the two most transformative functions in a human life that will transform culture. Like these are the greatest institution, like marriage is the greatest institution on planet Earth to transform culture. There's no other gathering, no other institution that'll transform culture faster than marriage and healthy marriages. And in order to have healthy marriages, we have to have strong men. So that is what we're going after. If you want to join us, just head to thisisthefight.com. You could sign up for Man Talk Monday. It's totally free. You could sign up there and you could join us this week. So I will see you guys